This initial moment of exposure is almost never met with peace. It is met with terror. The male ego, having spent a lifetime fortifying its walls, does not surrender quietly. When confronted with a gaze that offers no reflection of its greatness, no challenge to its power, and no desire for its validation, it panics. This is a threat of annihilation. A woman who sees past the mask is a woman who cannot be controlled by it. She cannot be impressed by the trophies, seduced by the rehearsed charm, or intimidated by the display of dominance. In her presence, all of the man's trusted weapons are rendered useless, and so his unconscious mind initiates a series of desperate self-preservational maneuvers. The first is often projection. Because he cannot comprehend her wholeness, her self-contained energy, he must project his own inner fragmentation onto her. If he is secretly chaotic, he will call her crazy. If he is wrestling with his own unacknowledged darkness, he will label her dangerous or manipulative. He paints her with the colors of his own shadow, because it is less terrifying to battle a monster outside of himself than to face the one within. You may have experienced this yourself. You offer a man a moment of pure, unvarnished presence, and he responds by accusing you of having a hidden agenda, of trying to figure him out, or of being too intense. Understand this, he is not describing you. He is describing the overwhelming and unfamiliar experience of his own soul being stirred from its slumber. He is terrified of the depths she reveals, not because the depths are hers, but because they are his own. If projection fails to create the necessary distance, he may resort to devaluation. He will try to shrink her back into a category he can manage. He might reduce her to her physical appearance, a quick and easy way to dismiss the profound spiritual challenge she presents. He may criticize her, find fault in her intellect or her choices, all in an effort to re-establish his own superiority and put her back in a box that his persona can understand and label. This is the ego fighting for its life, trying desperately to regain control of the narrative. By making her less than he can feel, more than again, patching up the cracks in his armor that her gaze revealed. But here is where the true Jungian mystery unfolds. While his conscious ego is in a state of frantic retreat, something else is happening in the deep waters of his unconscious. Her gaze did not just threaten his persona, it awakened his anima. The anima is the inner feminine archetype within a man, the carrier of his soul, his relatedness, his capacity for true intimacy and emotional life. For many men, the anima lies dormant, suppressed by a lifetime of conditioning to be strong and unemotional. When he looks at a woman who embodies this integrated soulful energy, he is not just seeing her, he is seeing a reflection of the most neglected and yearned for part of himself. His soul recognizes her. It feels like coming home to a place he has never been. This is the source of the magnetic, often inexplicable pull he feels towards her. A pull that exists in direct opposition to his ego's desperate push for distance. This is the great paradox. The very thing his conscious mind fears is the only thing his soul truly wants. A civil war erupts in his soul. The ego, the general of his conscious mind, screams for retreat, for order, for the familiar territory of control and predictability. It warns him that this woman, with her quiet knowing, is a threat to the entire kingdom he has built. Yet, the anima, the whisper from the unconscious, rises like a forgotten queen, recognizing in her a kindred spirit, a missing half of a whole. She is the promise of a deeper life, of feeling of meaning beyond the sterile achievements of the persona. This internal schism manifests as maddeningly inconsistent behavior. One moment he will be drawn to you with an intensity that feels like destiny. He will share a vulnerability, a glimpse behind the curtain, a truth he has told no one else. In these moments, his soul is winning. He is leaning into the terrifying beauty of being truly seen. But the ego does not die easily. The moment he feels that raw exposure, the fear rushes back in, and the walls go up higher and faster than before. He will retreat into silence. He will become distant, cold, almost cruel in his withdrawal. He will busy himself with work, with other women, with anything that can distract him from the profound internal shift she has initiated. He is a man haunted by the ghost of a connection his own fear will not let him claim. He may test you, creating drama or provoking a reaction, subconsciously hoping you will become angry, needy, or insecure. If you do, he wins. The ego wins. Because if you become just like every other woman who has reacted to his games, he can safely categorize you, dismiss you, and convince himself that the profound thing he felt in your presence wasn't real after all. He can go back to sleep. And what is your role in this sacred silent drama? Most women, when faced with this push-pull, this hot and cold dance, will instinctively do one of two things. They will either chase him, demanding answers and reassurance, trying to prove their worth and recapture that initial moment of connection, or they will mirror his behavior, playing games of their own, pretending to be distant to provoke his interest. Both paths lead to ruin. Both are reactions born of a need for external validation. Both feed his ego and starve his soul and yours. The woman with the gaze that sees, however, does neither. Her power lies not in action, but in a profound and unnerving stillness. She understands a truth rooted in the deepest wisdom of both Jung and the Stoic philosophers. The only thing you truly control is your own inner state. His turmoil is not hers to fix. His fear is not hers to soothe. His internal war is not her battle to fight. She does not lean in, nor does she pull away. She simply holds her center. Her peace is not contingent on his presence, and her worth is not diminished by his absence. She becomes what Marcus Aurelius called an inner citadel, a fortress of tranquility that cannot be breached by the chaos of the outside world. This stillness is not passive. It is the most active and powerful stance she can take. It is a silent declaration that says, I see your fear, I see your conflict, but I will not participate in it. My energy is sacred, and it is reserved for what is whole and true. In her non-reactivity, she becomes a perfect mirror. When he projects his chaos onto her, it finds no purchase and reflects right back at him. When he tries to devalue her, he only hears the hollow echo of his own insecurity. She is not a participant in his drama. She is the silent, observing audience. And for a man who has spent his life running from himself, being left alone in a room with a perfect mirror is the most terrifying and ultimately the most transformative experience possible. He is left with no one to blame, no one to fight, and nowhere to hide from the truth of his own divided self. This silent, unwavering presence she holds is not an absence of energy. It is a different kind of energy altogether. It is the dense, gravitational pull of a centered soul. For the man, this stillness is not empty space. It is a high-pressure chamber. In the deafening silence left by her non-reactivity, the only voice he can hear is his own. The cacophony of his internal conflict, the fearful screams of his ego, and the mournful pleas of his anima becomes unbearably loud. He has been given the terrible gift of his own company, stripped of all distractions and external dramas he usually uses to numb himself. He is left alone with the raw material of his own being. At this stage, a profound shift begins to occur within him. The initial panic and frustration give way to a bewildering sense of introspection. He starts to question the very foundation of his reality. His entire life has been predicated on a system of action and reaction, of cause and effect. If he performs confidence, he gets admiration. If he shows indifference, he sparks pursuit. But she has broken the machine. Her stillness is a variable he cannot calculate. It short-circuits his entire operating system. He begins to see, perhaps for the first time, that he is not a master puppeteer, but a puppet dancing on the strings of his own unexamined wounds and insecurities. He feels that nakedness again, but this time it is not just an exposure to her, it is an exposure to himself. He sees his own patterns, his own fear-driven behaviors laid out before him with brutal clarity. This is the moment of the great test, but the test is not for her, it is for him. His ego in its death throes will often orchestrate one final desperate gambit to regain control. This may manifest as a prolonged disappearance, the ultimate test of her resolve. He vanishes not necessarily out of malice, but from a subconscious need to see if his absence can finally break her peace, to see if he can force her into the familiar role of the anxious waiting woman. He needs to know if his power to affect her is truly gone. He might even briefly engage with a more superficial, predictable woman, someone who will praise his persona and react on cue as a way to soothe his battered ego and remind himself of the old world where he was king. And what do you do in this moment? This is where your journey of individuation, your own sacred work, is crystallized. You will be tempted by the ghosts of old patterns. Your own shadow, the part of you that fears abandonment, that craves validation, will rise up and whisper poisonous suggestions. It will tell you to reach out, to check on him, to post something online, to get his attention, to prove that you are unbothered in a way that is clearly designed to bother him. But the woman who sees understands that this final test is his and his alone. She continues to cultivate her own garden. She invests her energy not in waiting but in living. She reads the book, takes the trip, builds her business, deepens her friendships. She is not performing a life for an audience of one. She is genuinely inhabiting her own existence. Her gaze, you see, was never about judging him. It was about recognizing him. And its power comes from the fact that it sees beyond the broken man struggling in front of her. It sees the blueprint of the whole man he could be. It sees the gold that in alchemical terms can only be found by burning away the dross. Her stillness is an act of profound faith, not faith that he will choose her, but faith in the transformative power of truth itself. She knows that if he is to become the man his soul is calling him to be, he must do it for himself. He must walk through his own fire. Her role was never to save him from the flames, but simply to be the one who was not afraid to let him see the fire was there. And so she waits, not in the anxious sense, but in the way the earth waits for a seed to break through the soil, with a deep, abiding and impersonal trust in the process of life itself. The silence eventually breaks. It always does. But the sound that follows is one of two things: the hollow echo of a door closing forever, or the quiet, solid click of a key turning in a lock that was never truly barred. For the man who was left in the crucible of his own soul, the time for reflection must end and a choice must be made. This is the point where his path diverges, and he either integrates the profound lesson he has been offered or retreats from it for good. In one reality, the ego wins its war of attrition. The discomfort of self-awareness becomes too great, the vulnerability too terrifying. He chooses the comfort of the known world, the safety of the mask. He may reappear, not in her life, but on the periphery, a flicker on social media, a story told through a mutual friend. You will see him there, perhaps with a new partner, a woman who is bright and shiny and perfectly reflects his polished persona. She will admire his strength, laugh at his jokes, and never ever challenge him with a gaze that sees too deep. He will look happy, successful, and in control. He will have chosen a life of anesthesia over a life of feeling. And what will you feel when you see this? The old self, the shadow self, might feel a sting of rejection or a pang of what if. But the woman you have become, the one who has cultivated her inner citadel, will feel something else entirely, a quiet, impersonal grief. It is the grief one feels for a beautiful potential that was not realized, the sadness of watching a man choose a gilded cage over the terrifying freedom of the open sky. There is no anger, no jealousy, there is only clarity. His choice was never a verdict on your worth. It was a testament to the weight of his own fear. But there is another path, the path of the man whose soul finally overthrows the tyranny of his ego. He endures the fire. He allows his old self to burn away the arrogance, the need for control, the fear of being seen. He does the shadow work, not because he thinks it will win her back, but because the pain of living an inauthentic life has become greater than the pain of transformation. When this man returns, he does not return with a storm of apologies or grand romantic gestures. Those are the tools of the ego attempting to manipulate a situation. No, he returns with a quality of presence that is unmistakable. He is quiet, he is humble. The frantic nervous energy is gone, replaced by the deep, grounded stillness of a mountain. His eyes, when they meet yours again, are different. The guardedness is gone, the need to project and posture has vanished. Instead, there is an open, vulnerable, and deeply seeing gaze that mirrors your own. He is not trying to impress you or win you over. He is simply present. He has become a man who is no longer at war with himself, and therefore has no need to create war with you. He can stand in the presence of your wholeness because he has finally begun to embrace his own. He can handle your light because he is no longer terrified of his own darkness. This is the alchemical conjunctio that Jung spoke of, the sacred marriage of opposites. It had to happen within him first. He had to integrate his own feminine anima, his capacity for feeling and relatedness, before he could meet your integrated feminine in a healthy way. This is not the collision of two needy halves seeking to be completed. It is the alignment of two whole beings choosing to walk together. The attraction is no longer the frantic, desperate pull of shadow and projection. It is a calm, resonant hum of two souls recognizing each other on the same frequency. The nakedness he once felt as terror, he now feels as a profound and liberating truth. In your presence, he is not diminished. He is finally, fully himself. This transformation, whether he returns or recedes, was never truly about him. It was about you. His entire journey, the panic, the projection, the retreat, the choice was simply the external stage upon which your own internal mastery was perfected. The woman with the gaze that sees does not cultivate her inner world for a man. She does it for herself. The peace, the stillness, the unshakable self-worth, these are not strategies for attraction. They are the non-negotiable foundations of her own existence. The man who is drawn to this is a magnificent consequence, not the initial prize. This is a crucial distinction that separates the truly empowered feminine from the one who is merely playing a more sophisticated game of seduction. Think of it in this way: your inner state is a frequency you broadcast to the universe. For a long time, you may have been broadcasting a frequency of neediness, of subtle anxiety, of a desire to be completed, and so you attracted men who were a perfect match for that frequency. Men who were also incomplete, who fed on that anxiety, who could control you through your need for their approval. The entire push-pull dynamic was a perfect, if painful, energetic lock and key. But the work you did, the shadow work, the cultivation of your inner citadel, the embrace of your own wholeness fundamentally changed your broadcast. You are now emitting a signal of self-sufficiency, of peace, of a quiet and joyful completeness. This new frequency is utterly invisible and incomprehensible to the man who is still operating from his fragmented ego. He literally cannot hear you. He will pass by your life completely oblivious to the depth you represent because nothing in him resonates with it. He is tuned to the station of drama and validation, and you are no longer broadcasting there. This is not a rejection. It is a simple matter of energetic physics, and this is a cause for celebration. Your inner work has created a natural, effortless filter that repels those who are not ready for your truth. You no longer have to vet men, test them, or waste your time deciphering their mixed signals. The signal you send does the work for you. The man who is drawn to you now is the one who has, through his own painful journey, started to tune his own receiver to a higher frequency. He hears the quiet hum of your peace beneath the noise of the world, and it is the only music that makes sense to his soul. He is drawn to your stillness, not because he wants to disrupt it, but because he recognizes it as the home he has been searching for within himself. He feels safe in your presence, not because you soothe his ego, but because you demand nothing from it. In your presence, he is free to let it fall away and allow his more authentic self to emerge. This is the ultimate expression of feminine power. It is not about controlling a man's behavior or manipulating his desire. It is about becoming so rooted in your own being that your very presence becomes a transformative force. You become a catalyst for change, not by what you do or say, but by who you are. You hold a space for his highest potential, and you are completely unattached to whether he chooses to step into it or not. Your happiness is not on the line. Your worth is not up for debate. This complete and total release of a desired outcome is the very thing that creates the most powerful magnetic pull. It is the great paradox. The moment you truly do not need a man to be whole is the moment the man who is worthy of your wholeness can finally find you.